Welcome to the Probate Mastermind podcast. These episodes are recorded live once a week and are hosted by the alltheleads.com coaches. Agents, investors, and wholesalers join the coaches for everything from marketing tips, sales psychology, live deal analysis, transaction engineering, advanced real estate strategy, and personal development. You will learn to get more listings, more deals, and find financial freedom by listening to these episodes. Be sure to catch show notes at alltheleads.com/podcast and join our free Facebook mastermind community, All the Leads Mastermind.
Welcome to all of our superb agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, March 27th, 2021, and this is Mastermind Podcast number 329. We do have two in the queue now, guys. We got plenty of room for more. A couple reminders. We do have two weekly contests. One is probate specific, and that is either a contract or a listing that was signed on a probate deal. And then our idea of the week is just anything out of the box different, any ideas that y'all have to prosper in this extremely strong seller's market. And I don't know if my partners have anything to add. I just want to, it's getting to be the time of year where we always remind you guys. I've often said on these calls that one of my original mentors told me, figure out what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. Right now, your competition is going on vacation, or they're thinking about going on vacation. So take your vacation, but don't take the summer off, guys. It's crazy. You're going to have less competition. This is the time of year when we also hear every year, which just amazes us. We have people say, I need to take a break from getting listings because I need to go work buyers. I have a feeling less people are going to say that this summer, but thrive while the competition's on vacation. Enjoy your time off, but this is not the time of year to let up. Tim, anything you'd like to add?
Yep. I would like to make a couple comments. One of them is that as we consistently hear, and I'm sure that all of you guys read, listen, and pay close attention to what's going on in our marketplace right now. And inventory is challenging, finding things to sell, things to buy. There's just not a lot on the market. When it comes on, it goes away pretty quickly. The one thing that is awesome about probate is that every month it's a renewable, evergreen opportunity to go acquire property and acquire listings and do the things that we want to go do. In line with that, we are closing out our spring and heading into summer, and we've only got a couple more days of May, and then it's June, and that's summertime. So I have spoken this morning with our sales team, and should you desire to potentially add a county to a county that you have right now, or to up your subscription or do anything that you want to go do, I think you're going to find them to be in a deal-making mood today and tomorrow, and we're going to try to end up this month really strong. It's been a great month already, and we obviously are like any other business. We try to grow and prosper every month, and we've had many months in a row of, for us, what would be considered record opportunity, and we continue to grow, and it's because of you that we do that. If you want to do that, if this is a time that you've been pondering, well, maybe I should add a county, think about this. If the adjacent county to you is one that's of interest to you, this is the best time you're going to find in the near future to add that county to your list. Contact your sales rep, contact us, let us know. You got 2 days to do it. They're on today. They're making deals all day long, and we're anxious to get that done. So we want to close out strong. We want to help you get started with the summertime. So give us a buzz. Let's see what happens.
Awesome. And as always, you can also, if you don't know who your sales rep is or you're in doubt, just call our main number or send an email to support@alltheleads.com. Bruce, anything you want to add? You want any updates on training that you'd like to do right now?
Yeah, we just have another foundations class coming out next week. I'm going to be sending that email out later this afternoon, announcing that and offering the registration. That's going to go to everyone, whether you're a subscriber of ours or not. Non-subscribers of ours, there is a small fee, very small. Subscribers, it's free. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to take the foundations class, we'll even give you a portion of it. A significant portion of it is a credit toward your leads if you want to learn first and get leads after. So be on the lookout. If you're in our system, be on the lookout for that. If you're not in our system, if you don't get an email from me this afternoon, then it means that we don't have your information, and you're probably going to want to just go ahead and give our support team a call and ask how you can take that. But that's a 2-day class. It's next Wednesday and Thursday from 2 until about 4:30 p.m. Eastern time both days, Wednesday and Thursday. So about 5 hours total, and you will know exactly what to do in your probate business to get rolling.
Awesome. All right, guys, we have a pretty good attendance on the call for a holiday weekend, and we have 2 in the queue. Plenty of room for more. Again, we're looking for your wins, for your ideas, for your challenges. We're here to help you, and this is your call, so don't be shy. Hit *6 and hit 1, and you can be next up in the queue. In the meantime, let's go to our first caller. Phone number ending in 5464. You're up first.
Hey, guys, it's Eddie in Kansas City.
Hey,
Eddie.
I got re-signed up, so Natalie got me taken care of, so we're back in business. But I do have a question. Yeah, thank you. I do have a question. I have gone on 3 appointments since we spoke last time, and I think they're all possibilities. The statement, whoever throws out the first number loses. I don't want to throw out the first number. What's the best way to get the person the seller to throw out their number first so that I'm not...
Yeah, so Eddie, there's a couple of things with that, and I know whoever throws out the first number loses is a big thing, and Never Split the Difference, which is an amazing book that we recommend. With that said, if you remember in that book, and I've practiced this for many years, it's not that necessarily that you lose if you give the first number. I give the first number all the time. What you do if you're going to give the first number is you set an anchor. And you set an anchor that's appealing enough for the person to where they'll at least give you a response. But it also needs to be something that is low enough to where it throws them off of their game if you're in a negotiation game. And so this is a negotiation technique. Obviously, I want everyone to hear that we provide value first. We believe in giving more value and more support than we're asking for in return. But obviously, we're also in this to make money as well. So, Eddie, if they're just flat out not giving a number, what you could do is either give a low number and set an anchor, or you could give a range. So if it's somebody that just isn't giving you anything at all, you might say, I was thinking something between 110 and 120. Is that in the ballpark of where we could start a talk? So give a range. I was thinking in this range, is that in the right ballpark where we could start communication? And see if they go, yeah, I was thinking 120, that would work really well. And now all of a sudden you've got a deal. Or if they say, no, that's way off, now you push them again for their number, and they'll usually give you their actual number. A lot of times, if you were low enough on your range, they might give you a number that was lower than they would have given you to begin with. So there's nothing wrong with you naming the first number in certain circumstances.
Okay.
And you're a realtor too, right? You can list them also, or you can refer them to a realtor?
I just passed my real estate exam. I have not gotten signed up with the brokerage yet.
Last week.
Yes, last week, on Monday. Wait, no, awesome. I passed it this Monday. I passed it Monday. So
that's almost good enough for a win of the week. Almost. Let's see what else happens.
Yeah, I think so.
First try, taking the test. Anyway, no, I do I work with an agent that I could list with, and I always present that as an option. I know for certain the guy's house that I just went and looked at, he was like, I don't want to list it on the market. I don't want to do anything. I want cash. And it's in bad shape. But if I can get it for the right price, just setting his expectation is what I'm trying to figure out the best way to do. So I think, I don't know. I'd love
to hear what his number is. Have you asked yet?
I didn't. I talked to him. Yes, no. I was going to ask him when I got on the phone. I was just going to call him and say, hey, I went by, took a peek at it. There's a lot going on. I've got to work on my numbers, figuring out what it's going to be. Do you have any idea of what you're hoping to get so that I can try and be at that? So
yeah, and I know Tim has something, but I want to say one more thing. I say good question, but I would state it more directly is, hey, I'm still working on my numbers. I don't know exactly what to give you yet. What's your number, though? So I would just come straight out, and instead of saying, do you have any idea, so that, and kind of that's dancing around it. And if you want someone to feel confident giving you their number, you need to sound confident in the way that you asked. And the way that you just asked in that hypothetical example you gave if you asked me that way, I'd say, no, I don't have a number. What do you have? But if you just said, hey, Bruce, what's your number? And you said it confidently, I'm probably going to give you an answer. So you need to change the way that you're thinking about asking that a little bit.
Okay.
You had something you wanted to add, Tim?
Yeah, I'm just going to say another way to get around this is to do a little bit of research before you're having that conversation, and either do it while you're on the phone if you haven't done it already, if you're just dialing for dollars hoping to get somebody on the phone. If you know that you're going to be talking to somebody, do a little bit of research before you get there, and do some quick comps. Just go take a quick look and say, and even if you're an investor and you don't have access to MLS, hop on Zillow, see what's around there. Come back with something that says, as we said, start with trying to get them to give you a number. That's always the best place to start. That'll let you know the most that you can find out. But you can also come back and say, the only thing I can tell you if they're not going to give it to you is that I know that a house on a street that's reasonably close by, a house on Elm Street that seems like it might be pretty much similar to your house, just sold recently for XYZ. Make that a price that you'd potentially be willing to pay for it. And that's something I have to go on without taking a look at your house. Do you think your house is in that range or whatever? Give them something that shows you've done some research on your stuff, and they've got to give you an answer at that point. They're going to give you a high or low at that point. And what Bruce said is very important. It's all in how you say it. If you come back and you're giving them a lot of wiggle room or letting them play ping pong with you, you're not going to get there. Put it to them in a question that they can't really duck. And the way Bruce said it, the way I said it, either one of those are going to make them give you an answer of some sort.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll give you also, Eddie, just a third perspective on it. One of my original investment mentors taught me 3 questions that I have used this so many times over the years, and I've added a little bit to it. The first question is, you could say, I haven't done all my research. If I were to pay cash and close quick, what's the best you could do in the price? And I add to it, hey, Eddie, I haven't done all my research yet, and I won't hold you to it, but I'm just curious, if I were to pay cash and close quick, what's the best you could do in the price? I find I won't hold you to it. I'm not even sure what that really means, but it lets them know it's not a contract if you give me a price. And then I never forget, I had a guy years ago, I still remember it. I said, hey, I won't hold you to it, but if I pay cash and close quick, what's the best you could do? And he said 180 with a clear upswing, which means no confidence at all in that price. And then the second question is, so is that the best you can do? And I said that to the guy, and he said 150. Then the third question is, so you're telling me if I can't pay 150, we don't have a deal? And the guy said, no, I didn't say that. And then he came back with 120. And to be honest with you, he still had an upswing, but I just didn't feel good going any lower. And they're not all going to be that easy. But I think if you're prepared to ask them all 3 of those questions, you'll be surprised how much you can get the number down before you really start the serious negotiations. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
What else can we help you with, Eddie?
I guess the other question, I had this question for Natalie, and I haven't been doing this. I haven't been paying all the leads to do my mailing. It's a pain in the ass to do it myself, but I'm also building up my reserve money, which I have some now that I closed that deal last week. But what are your people who do it and do it consistently? What are they as far as returns go when they are consistent and have, or do you know, what are their returns like when they are consistent mailing 3 to 6 months consistently?
So, Eddie, the first thing is we used to teach 3 months. We really used to teach that 3 months was what you should do. In a rural market, you might be able to get by with 3 months. But I'll tell you, if you're in an urban or a suburban or an ex-urban market, anything like that where pace of life is fast, you can't get by with 3 months. I think that any return you get with 3 or 4 months worth of mail is going to be luck. And you'll get lucky sometimes, but it's going to be luck-based. Mail is it's really all about the accumulation of brand touches. And it's really hard to say, like in my market, it's really hard to say what converted from mail and what converted from the phone. It converted from the whole package. It converted from the entire package of them getting voicemail from me every 2 weeks, of them getting a letter or a postcard from me every 3 weeks. And over time, I know what the overall conversion rate is that I get. Sometimes it's hard to say exactly where it came from. I use the example of we ran radio ads, Facebook ads. We did neighborhood targeting on Facebook. We were running radio ads. This wasn't probate related. This was just regular real estate basis for listings. And we'd been running this campaign for a couple of years, and we were getting some great results. And someone called in one day And they said, we said, hey, where did you hear about us? And they said, I saw your billboard on 419, which is a street in Roanoke, Virginia. And I said, oh, no, we don't have a billboard. And they said, yes, you do. And I said, no, we don't have any billboards. Not only do we not have one on that street, but we don't have any. Where did you see us? No, I saw your billboard on 419. They were absolutely convinced that they'd seen our billboard, and I knew that they hadn't because I wasn't paying for one. The idea behind this is someone might say, I got your message yesterday and I called you from your voice message yesterday and I want to list my house or I want to sell my house. But we know that it was the accumulation of those things that added up over the previous 4 or 5 months that led to that call, that led to that business. So that's a roundabout way of saying that I think it's almost impossible to track direct and consistent conversion on letters. But I think that if you're doing 5-6 months worth of mail and you're calling every 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to add up and you're definitely going to close a high level of business. So our market's usually about, depending if it's urban, kind of more urban or suburban, it'd be like 3%. The more rural markets go over 5% pretty consistently from that approach.
Okay. Yeah, I am good. I'm able to do the phone, but like I find that when I'm not consistent with whatever I'm doing, my numbers suffer significantly. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm consistent in the calls and the mailing. And if it's done by you guys, it seems it's easier to, even though it's more expensive, it's easier to make sure it gets done.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Eddie. And I'm going to get punched in the face next time I see Tim. Twice now, I've run my own mail. And, you know, I hired a high school kid, and I could get it done for $1.25 a letter versus our $1.50. But I was burning through my ink. I was having to stack letters into shoe boxes and print my list and sort it out. And I was having to spot check the letters and everything like that. And I was saving a little bit of money, but it was always inconsistent. And I was always burning many hours every week on this. And yeah, I was saving money, but what's your time cost? Now, if your value per hour as an investor or an agent is less than $50 an hour, yeah, you got a consideration to make. But if the time that you put into prospecting is worth more than $50 or $100 or $200 an hour, it's not even really a choice at that point. And forgive me, buddy, I just told people that I did it myself a couple of times. But I get there's some budgets. Sometimes it's simply not in the budget, and I'd rather see you guys doing some mail in your campaign. But if you've got any budget at all, or if your prospecting time is valuable at all, you should offload that mail as quickly as possible.
So I think what you're saying is that we're obviously giving you too much money because you want to do it that way. I think I understand. Your time's just not that valuable. Is that right, Bruce?
Sure. But I'm going to get punched in the face. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, well, wait. Here's the deal. What we're trying to make the point here is that we provide a service, and you said it correctly when you were beginning this, is that the challenge that you have when you don't put this on autopilot and you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And unfortunately, it's far too easy to make a commitment that you're going to do something, knowing that you have to and knowing that you could do it, and, oh, maybe I can save a quarter here and a quarter there. And the bottom line is you skip a week, you skip another week, and then you've got another set of leads coming. Pretty soon you're feeling overwhelmed because you didn't do what you needed to do, and the challenge with that is that it's hard to come back. And we've been doing this a good long while now, and in the 6 or 7 years we've been at it, we find too many people who come back and say, oh, I just got so behind in my mailing and all that sort of stuff, I just felt like I'd never get caught up. So we encourage you to do what you can do now. If you want to do some with us, augment some by yourself, that's fine. It's not going to be too long where you're going to see us coming back with a postcard option that's going to cut your costs down a little bit. The other thing you can look at is Probate Plus adds a little bit of cost to the lead itself, but it cuts your marketing costs down by focusing you only on people who do have property. And we're aware that this is a competitive marketplace, and we know that's the case, and we're doing everything we can to migrate all of the things that we can do. We've just added a whole bunch of additional equipment that we're going to determine, I believe, is going to allow us to save some money in terms of our cost of production, and we're going to do some things to try to pass some of that along to you guys and encourage you to do more mailing rather than less, and also to do more frequency. And I'll add the last thing. This goes back to Jim's point, or Bruce's point, where Bruce is obviously not very bright because he's arguing with somebody who told him that he had a billboard out there. I would have simply said, "That's great. I'm glad you saw us there. Let's move on." But the one point I would make is that it's impression-based. Anybody that's talking to you about direct mail is going to tell you that every time you make that touch, you're getting more and more impressions, so that you become top of mind. If somebody says probate and real estate in the same sentence, your face is what you want them to see. Your name is what you want them to think about in their head. And the only way that happens is frequency. And the one thing that I think is important to remember is even people like Gary Keller and folks like that, Keller advocates 33 touches to a potential customer, and oftentimes it's that 30-second touch that gets you in there somehow. So we're going to do everything we can to encourage you to do that. We're working on an email product that'll help you get that along the way as well. But get your mail out, bud, and automate it, and you're going to find the results are going to be way better than you can think of doing it yourself.
So I'll throw in on this, Eddie, and basically talk to you for a second about those touches and what those touches should look like. And by the way, if you automate mail, good job. If you're not doing phone calls along with it, we got to figure out a solution there, because the phone's going to get your conversion. The mail's going to make you credible. The phone's going to get conversion. So with regard to credibility, I talked about this either a little bit last week or maybe the week before, and how a lot of real estate professionals rely exclusively on the know, like, and trust factor. So we say, okay, somebody knows who we are. Hopefully they like us. Hopefully they trust us. But I'm going to add a fourth factor in there on real conversion, and that's credibility, especially when you're working on leads. They need to view you as a credible expert that can make a difference in their life. And when they've lost someone, they're going through this very difficult and private experience of going through probate or having lost a family member. A lot of times, without that factor, you're not going to get anything. And that's where the mail really comes into play, especially for those of you, especially if you've had a dialogue with someone. So on top of the drip mail campaign that you send out to leads that you haven't spoken with before, you probably ought to develop a touch sequence for people that you've communicated with that maybe they say, Eddie, I'm not ready yet. You're probably going to sell the house, but you're catching me a little early and it's just super busy. You might want to have a campaign for yourself that, and this is where you can send it out yourself because it's a one-off, where you're sending a CMA on touch one. Maybe you're sending a probate checklist a week or two later. Maybe you're sending a brochure another week or two after that. And it kind of goes a little bit to this idea of doing an 8x8 campaign, which is where if you've got someone in your sphere of influence, you do 8 touches in 8 weeks, and it rapidly brands you as the credible expert. So after you've had conversations with people, I'm going to encourage you to focus on mail where you're delivering valuable pieces that seem much more personalized over the next month or two when someone isn't quite ready to pull the trigger with you yet. At that point, it's your job to become credible in their mind and beat out the competition, which you do. You start sending high-value pieces like I just described, and you will beat the competition. They'd be silly not to come back to you when they're ready.
Okay. I guess I just need to figure out what those are so that I could have them ready to send out.
One, you need a probate checklist. You need a brochure. You probably ought to have some sort of a shortened CMA form where you can run an analysis on properties they've inherited. You could probably package your vendors list in a way that you're able to send that. And then I would probably send them a piece or two that promotes individual vendors that I work with. So I might send them a piece saying, hey, when it comes time for taxes, inheritances can really make things complicated. One of the things that I like to do for people is I like to promote my preferred accountant who specifically knows how to get you through tax season in the best shape after you've inherited wealth. And here's their information. So very customized touches. Now you can template all this stuff together where it doesn't take much time. Once you've put the template letter together, you just plug and play the PR name, the decedent name, maybe the accountant name and the county that you're in. And then throw it into a letter size envelope and send it out every couple of weeks at most, at like maximum every couple of weeks, or at minimum, let's say minimum, if not every week. You've got a couple of month runway after you've had a conversation with people to get in front of them and make yourself the trusted expert and trusted advisor in their mind. No one else is doing this. What everybody else is doing, if they've had a conversation, is calling and saying, hey, Eddie, last month you said you weren't ready to sell the house yet. You ready to sell it now? No? Okay, I'll call you next month. Next month, hey, Eddie, you ready to sell the house yet? How much more are they going to want to talk to you when you've been giving them value like this on a weekly or biweekly basis?
And Bruce, I was just going to add, I don't want to complicate it, Eddie, but you certainly, if you're going to do the vendor-specific campaigns, it may not be unreasonable at all to ask them to help you with the marketing costs, especially if they're getting business from it. And if, an attorney, why not? Attorneys can't prospect. You could prospect for them. All your other vendors, your whole list of vendors, if you give them any business at all, they could certainly supplement your marketing costs and allow you to automate it.
Do you feel fire hosed, Eddie?
A little bit, but my gears are turning right now. How I could do this. But no, I appreciate all the information. I'll have to go back and re-listen to this, though.
All right.
Cool.
And Bruce is always available. If any of us, we're available for a coaching call if you need it. And we appreciate you, man. Thanks for participating. And we'll have to see if that 3 appointments get you the win of the week. We'll see who's in the queue. We got 2 more in the guys. We have plenty of room for more. Just hit *6 and then hit 1. In the meantime, next up is phone number ending in 4055. You're up next.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. This is Nick in Sarasota.
Hey, Nick.
Just got to ask your opinion on, I'm calling all these leads, and my team leader is actually a subscriber. And based on previous recommendation by you guys, I'm going back about to January, and I'm calling leads from January to start with. And I'm not reaching a lot of people. But my question is, how do you feel, or what's your opinion? Because some of the PRs actually have email addresses. How do you feel about emailing an introduction? How do you feel about emailing the attorneys a brochure of our services? I'm just running into a wall on some of these.
So I'm going to go back to our days on my team of prospecting buyer leads, and inevitably, now you're running into a wall, so I'm not blaming you for doing this, but a lot of people will look at that email address and they'll go, oh, thank God there's an email. That means I don't have to call. An email is customer service based. That's just what email is best for, is customer service. It's not best for converting a lead. So when it comes to emailing, I want you to use email the same way I was just telling Eddie before this, to use letters to establish and build credibility, build that brand awareness of who you are and what you can do for them. So yes, use email, but I would offer value touches, brochures, I would offer checklists, I would offer different things that they could use through the process to establish that credibility. And I would probably throw a PS into the bottom of each one of my emails that just says, P.S. If you have a house that needs to be sold at some point soon, here's how I help. But the purpose of that email is to provide value that builds credibility, and then you're going to convert on that, cash that credibility in on the phone. And I know you're not getting a lot of answers. I was just reviewing my numbers. I had no idea that my numbers were like this, but I was reviewing my numbers, and each round of calls that I make, 6 or 7% of people that answer, which is pretty low. But that is 94 out of 100 people that I can drop a voicemail to really quickly with the push of a button. And that is another marketing touch. And over time, they're getting that voicemail that I'm dropping quickly. They're getting that email with credibility content. They're getting the letters with credibility content. And they're going to start to convert on the phone. So
Speaking of the voicemail that you just mentioned, since I'm backing way up, and I'm calling January lead. I think I've heard you in the past say, if you plan on calling all the time, don't leave a voicemail on the first call. However, these people have already received, Gary's only doing 3 letters right now. We might increase that, but he's only doing 3 letters. So they've received all 3 letters. So if I'm going back that far to start contacting those, should I on the first phone call, should I leave a voicemail the first time?
So let me ask you this: when do you plan on calling that person back if they don't answer?
Like I said, I'm picking up and going all the way back, so he's got a lot of leads that haven't been contacted. So I don't know. I don't know if I should go back to all of the round of January leads and do a second round of calls on those, or because last time we talked about this, you had mentioned, okay, go back to January and then do the current month, and then go back to February and then do April, and then so on.
Yeah.
So I don't know how often I would be able to go back and call the ones from January for the second round of the call.
Yep. So in other words, what you said is we prescribed you a bookend approach where you do January this week and this month, so May's the next week, and then February, then April, and bookend and work in toward the middle. Now, with that said, if you're not going to call that lead back within the next generally 3 days, I leave a voicemail on call number 1. So the only time I don't leave a voicemail on call number 1 is if I know that I'm about to call that lead again within a couple of days.
Give me an example of the voicemail message you would leave.
So the first voicemail message, and I want to make this really clear that this is better for an older lead that has probably gotten through a lot of the process, a lot of the emotional process. So an older lead, I'm probably going to say, hey, giving you a quick call because we work with families that have inherited real estate through probate. We have a couple of services that you might find beneficial. Could you give me a call back at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? That's it. Now, that would be a good first message because it leaves enough for curiosity. Future messages, once someone has proven that they're not going to call you back, I start to get more specific. So I'm actually going to get into my elevator presentation a little bit. So I'm going to say, hey, I tried you a couple of weeks ago. Just wanted to follow up on that voicemail I left. Sorry I keep missing you. And by the way, if I'm bothering you, please give me a call back and let me know. But we work with families that have inherited real estate through probate. And basically what we can do is we can take care of anything from real estate that needs to be managed, whether you're keeping it or selling it. We help with that directly. We also help with things like property maintenance and repairs. So if you need someone to cut the grass, clean the gutters, we can help there. And then last is we can pitch in and provide connections and resources and even direct help with personal property if you need to run an estate sale or you need someone to come clean the property out. If any of that or if any of our connections might be beneficial to you, you give me a call back. And if they're not beneficial, call me back and let me know so that I don't bother you anymore. So either way, I'm funneling them into a callback. That was a significantly longer message. What I just said probably took 50 or 60 seconds. But if they've proven to me that they're not going to call back, then why not deliver your USP, your elevator pitch, on the voicemail? Now they're getting it in a letter and a voicemail and hopefully an email as well.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense because it's just what I've been running into here lately. Appreciate it, and I'll go back and listen to all this and take notes again and formulate those voicemails that I'm going to leave if I don't get an answer.
Appreciate your participation. We only have one in the queue, guys. Don't be shy. Hit *6 and hit 1. You can be up next. In the meantime, next up is our not old in, chronologically, but in endurance. Belinda, you've been with us a while. Welcome back.
Oh, hi. Thanks. Thanks for taking my call. Quick question. Some of it has been answered, and it goes back to the phone calls. I don't get very many people to actually answer the phone, so I'm just wondering, when you use the voicemail, are you using a ringless voicemail with a generalized message, like maybe with your USP, or are you using a specific voicemail directed toward the person that you're actually calling, which would have to probably be done on an individual basis?
So I would not use a ringless voicemail just because of some of the FTA regulations there. So I want that phone to ring. Now, if somebody's opted in and they're okay, they've already opted in, given you permission to drop a ringless on them, yeah, go ahead. But I doubt that's the case. So I would direct... And then when they do not answer, because it's generally going to be somewhere between 80 and 90% that don't, which is fine. Yeah. That actually speeds your calls up a lot as well. When they don't answer, you would just read your voicemail off of a script if you're doing this by hand, or if you had a dialer, something like Happy Grasshopper, I use Mojo Cells, Call Rail, anything like that, some of the popular ones that are out there, you can go into settings and pre-record a message, but you pre-record a message that sounds as natural as possible and as much like you were trying to leave it for them personally as possible. and set the system to where after 4 or 5 rings, the system automatically moves to the next person and delivers that voicemail.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've used it. That's what I started off using. And then to get through some of the phone numbers and to figure out which ones are really working, which ones are not, I was using the ring list for 2 reasons. For that reason, to kind of screen through some of the numbers. And then the second reason, just to get everybody with at least the message of what I'm trying to deliver. But that was through ring list. And then if I actually was going through placing calls, then I would go ahead and do what you prescribed, which I have my pre-recorded message, and then if they don't pick up, just get that tab. But okay. So it's just a matter of just, I guess, continuing to, I was trying to get around the phone calls only because it's such low production seems to be.
No way to get around the phone call. Someone has to do that phone call. Someone. If you hire it out, but somebody's got to dial.
Okay. So that's my question. So the email,
Yeah, as long as we have you, it's been a while. We always appreciate you. I know you've been with us for years now. Are you still doing this part-time? Do you still have a full-time job?
I do, but I gave my retirement notice for December so that I can go ahead and do this full-time because it's such a strain trying to do real estate part-time and then working full-time. You always feel like you just never have enough time to get all your marketing together. You always feel frantic. I don't even have time to get a clear thought through because then I have to keep going between work and real estate. So, yeah, still part-time, but with the full intention of doing it full-time starting January the 1st of 2022.
Good for you, because I know over the last several years, you probably have been the most consistent for doing this part-time. You do what you're supposed to do. You don't use that as an excuse for not doing your calls, and I know you've come and you've gone, but I'm glad you stuck with it long enough to be able to retire from your JOB. So we expect to hear more great things from you in the next few months once you start doing it full-time. That's great.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks. Kim, you had something you wanted to add?
No, it's not to add. I had a question that got sent in from a subscriber who is doing the same thing. He's got a full-time job, can't make these calls based on a time constraint, and he thought it might be a good thing to ask live so we can get a comment on it. So I'm going to ask his question.
Okay.
It's real simple. He's an investor, and he said you guys talk a lot about wanting to, let me pull this up. You talk a lot about wanting to express yourself as being the probate investor, the probate realtor, all that sort of stuff. And he said, what are the best sentences, is the word he used and put in quotes, sentences to use that indicate that you are a probate person when you're talking to someone? And I think basically what he's referring to is in your elevator speech or your USP, and Bruce, I'll point this at you, what would you normally say if someone said you're an investor, but you say you're focusing on probate? What does that mean? You're just chasing after probate properties and opportunities. How do we differentiate ourselves? And I have an answer, but I'll ask you, and Jim, you do the same thing. Do you think you're going to come up with an answer for that?
How do you differentiate yourself? It depends who you're talking to. I would ask this hypothetical person that question, but I'm gonna give you 2 hypothetical answers. If this is a person that is maybe an attorney or a professional that you're out trying to build a referral and team type of relationship with, what you need to say is, look, I'm not having this conversation to build a one-way street where you're giving me a whole bunch of value and referrals and I'm not giving anything back. Part of what I've learned in the experience that I've gained is that I don't have all the answers. I have services that definitely make the lives of the families I work with easier, but I bet you, Mr. Attorney, you, Mr. Landscaper, you, Mr. Accountant team member, and I didn't mean to use the masculine term there, ladies, Mrs. Accountant, I bet you have some input into this as well, and I'd like to know what I can do to promote your business and make your life easier when working with families like this. So I always like to use the line, this is not a one-way street where I'm asking for a bunch of business from you. I want to make your job easier, and I'd like your input into this so that it can be our business that I support yours, you support mine. Now, if you're talking to someone that is maybe your sphere of influence, you tell them, look, I'm calling with my real estate hat on real quick. I wanted to put that on and tell you a little bit about one of the areas that I'm specifically focused on, because most investors and agents out there stick a sign in the yard and pray for the highest price, and that's not what I do. lead with service, and I'm working specifically for families going through probate. And part of how we do that is we'll take care of everything from grass cutting to selling real estate to connecting them with an attorney if they need one, and about a million other things in between. Because families need this, and everybody else that's asking for their business is just sticking a sign in the yard. And that really resonates with the consumer that you're talking to. And again, if it's a professional you're talking to, you want them to feel like they're building the system along with you.
Okay. Jimmy, as an investor, what makes you a probate investor? And by the way, Bruce, I believe that was an elevator speech suitable for the Empire State Building.
Yeah, it was. That's a coffee elevator. That's a sitting down for coffee elevator presentation.
That's great, man. That's great. Jimmy, you still there, bud?
I am here, yes, sir. So your question is, or the person they're asking, how do you differentiate yourself as a probate investor versus just a generalized investor?
Yeah, I think what I would say is this. Think about it this way. That I think what he's asking is that he said everybody's talked to, if they've talked to a couple of other people, and he calls and he says, well, I'm a probate specific, I focus on probate. How do you say that's great when you're just trying to find a deal? I think his idea is looking for a way to say, I focus on probate, and here's how do you quickly move into what differentiates you from other people who are calling and trying to talk to this person or mailing them and trying to talk to them. What are the best things to say to differentiate yourselves from somebody who's simply out there trying to find a cheap deal to go buy?
Yeah, fair enough. And this is not so much the elevator pitch, but I've always been a big believer in asking questions. So, and we talk, don't wear the realtor or investor hat, but just ask an open-ended question. I know this can be a difficult time for the family. What's been the most difficult part of this for you so far? And a lot of times they'll say, what are you talking about? What do you mean difficult? And then if you are an investor, give them examples if you've done other deals. And if you haven't, give them an example of someone that did a deal on this call. I know very often it's the stuff in the house. And matter of fact, we had that story of a guy that had a house full of Lionel trains and he couldn't sell the house because the trains were worth more than the house. Do you have anything of value in the house that you need to get rid of? And if the answer is no to that, another thing that a lot of the people I deal with struggle with is just maintaining the house. I'm assuming you're having the grass cut and the lawn and winterizing the house. Is that been a chore for you? So I generally just start with an open-ended question, asking them what they need the most help with. And if they're not forthcoming with an answer, then just prod them with examples of other people that you've helped and specific things you've helped them with. And again, if you haven't done that, just things that you've heard on this call. So give them, sometimes people need a little bit of prodding. And we know over the years, the biggest thing is usually a house full of stuff. So that's probably where I would start. Most people, I'm speaking to you, you're in Iowa and the house is in Florida. Have you gone through it? Do you know what's in there? And do you know what you need to get rid of? Ask them that question. If not, would you like some help doing that? So prompt them with questions and find out. I'm a believer in prompt them with questions. Find out what they need help with before you go down a whole laundry list of things that may or may not apply to them.
Find the pain, fix the pain, and fix the pain. Find the pain and fix.
Exactly. Find the pain before you
find
the medicine, I would say. Sure, Bruce, go ahead.
So along the line of your line of questioning, what you might do is ask someone, hey, we know that most realtors, and I'm going to pick on realtors for a second, most realtors are just out to stick a sign in the yard and try to make a quick commission. Okay, that's a little disparaging. I are one, so I'm picking on myself too. But we know that Mr. or Mrs. PR, heir to an estate. But if someone were to customize a service for you that would help save you time and make your life easier, what do you think those services would look like for you as someone going through probate? And get them to start to describe what those services are. I guarantee most of the time they're going to come up with the same services we're offering, but now it's going to feel more like their idea than our idea. And they're probably going to be more apt to buy into it.
Yep.
I've never asked that question. I'm going to try to give it a try.
Yeah. They're not only that, but people are much more likely to believe something they say than what you say. So if they tell you they need help with it, they're gonna be more responsive to the help than if you tell them they need help. So yeah, Ask questions. I love that, those general questions. That's a great way to put it. All right, guys, we have no one else in the queue, and we're coming right up on the hour. Tim, I think you had a few closing comments, correct?
Yep. I would just like to remind you all of what we started off with here, that it is the end of the month. It's moving into summer. We want to do anything that we can to help you through this summer, which is likely to be a summer where sparse inventory is the rule. At least it looks that way now. And it's a great time to look out and see if there's an adjacent county you might want to take a flyer on for a month or two to see if you can gen up some interest there. And it's a great time to invest in your business. Other people will be doing less of that now, and you might as well make hay while the sun shines, because you know that probates don't quit. Unfortunately, people die all the time, and that's what we're here for, is to hopefully provide you with great opportunities to provide service to these people. As I said before, our sales team definitely standing by and anxious to chat with you and see if they can help you economically add some capability to your business. So please give us a call after this, and they're going to be excited to talk to you. They're in a deal-making mode, and we'll see what we can do to get this month closed out well and all enjoy our summer together.
Now, as I always do, guys, I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank the half a dozen or so that actively participated. I want to challenge each of you, take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice. And I want to again echo Tim's sentiment. Have a great 3-day weekend with your family, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, guys. Be safe, be healthy, have fun. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care, everybody.